Anthropic just quietly released models that beat OpenAI at the thing OpenAI invented. And OpenAI's response? Silence. No blog post. No announcement. Just radio silence. That tells you everything you need to know about what's actually happening in the AI race right now. Look, I know you've heard a lot of hype about AI models. Every company claims their model is the best, the fastest, the smartest. It's noise. But what happened in the last few weeks is different because it's not hype. It's actually measurable, and it actually matters for how you're going to interact with AI going forward. So here's what went down. Anthropic, which is the company that makes Claude, released a new family of models called Claude 3.5. Now, Claude was already pretty good. It was known for being careful, thoughtful, less prone to hallucinating than some competitors. But these new models? They're doing something different. They're matching or beating GPT on a bunch of benchmarks that are specifically designed to measure reasoning, coding ability, and nuance. And they're doing it while being smaller, cheaper, and faster to run. But here's the thing that actually matters. And this is where the silence from OpenAI gets loud. These new Anthropic models are genuinely good at something that's been hard for AI to do. They follow instructions carefully. They don't just spit out an answer. They actually think through what you're asking and give you what you actually need, not what the model thinks you should want. That's a different philosophy from how OpenAI has been building things. OpenAI's models have always been optimized for one thing: being impressive. They're trained to be confident, to sound smart, to give you an answer that feels authoritative. And that works great if you're using it for casual stuff, for brainstorming, for creative writing. But if you're a developer building a real product, if you're a company trying to use AI to actually solve a problem, that confidence without accuracy can be a liability. It's worse to get a wrong answer fast than a right answer slow. Anthropic learned something different. They started from first principles with something called constitutional AI. The basic idea is that instead of just training a model to predict the next word better and better, you train it to behave according to a set of principles. Be helpful. Be honest. Be harmless. That sounds simple, but it changes everything about how the model reasons and responds. It makes it more aligned with what humans actually want, not just what looks flashy. Now, why did OpenAI go silent? Well, think about their position. They've been the dominant player. They moved fast. They got to market first with ChatGPT. They built a massive user base, and they've been resting on that. But they're not resting on innovation anymore. They're resting on momentum. And momentum only lasts if nobody better shows up. Somebody better just showed up. The benchmarks don't lie. On tests like MMLU, which measures broad knowledge across multiple domains, Claude 3.5 is competitive or ahead. On coding tasks, it's beating GPT on some measures. On reasoning tasks designed to catch hallucinations and logical errors, it's doing better. And it's doing this while being more efficient, which means it's cheaper to run and faster to use. But the real thing, and this is what should actually worry OpenAI, is that developers are starting to notice. If you're building a product that needs to be reliable, that needs to not make up facts, that needs to follow instructions precisely, Claude is becoming the obvious choice. And once developers switch, they build products on that stack. They integrate it. They train their workflows around it. Switching costs go way up. OpenAI's response has been basically nothing. They haven't announced a competing model. They haven't benchmarked against Claude 3.5 publicly. They've just kind of waited. And that's a strategy, I guess, but it's a strategy that assumes nobody notices the gap. And people are noticing. What's also interesting is that Anthropic has been way more transparent about how they built these models and why they work. They published papers. They explained their approach. They're not hiding behind proprietary mystery. OpenAI used to do that too, but they've gotten more secretive. That's usually a sign that you're not confident in your technical lead anymore. Now, I'm not saying Anthropic has won the AI race. It's way too early for that. OpenAI is still huge, still has massive resources, still has the installed user base. But the gap that felt insurmountable 6 months ago, it's closed. It's actually competitive now. And that changes incentives for everyone in the industry. For you, the person actually using these models, here's what matters. You have a real alternative now. If you're using ChatGPT and you want something that's more reliable, more honest about what it doesn't know, more careful with facts, Claude is genuinely better at that. If you're a developer and you need a model that you can actually trust to follow your instructions, Claude 3.5 should be on your evaluation list. And if you're just curious about AI and want to see where the actual innovation is happening, it's not in the hype cycle anymore. It's in the models that actually work. The silence from OpenAI is telling because silence means they don't have an answer yet. And in a race where the product improves every few weeks, not having an answer is the same as falling behind. If you want to actually keep up with what's happening in AI, not the hype, but the actual shifts in what works and what doesn't, subscribe. I break down these moments when they happen, and they matter way more than you'd think. Hit that button, and I'll see you in the next one.